So when you first got this project back out of the Red River admin, was the indium becoming a theme then, or like were you?
Well, indium has been, on a lot of some people's minds since the early 1990s. So as flat screens, touch screens uses exploded worldwide, the indium price has also gone up. So if you go back to about 1990, indium production was about 150 tonne a year. Now it's 1,000 tonne a year.
This is general advice and my opinions only. This episode's company has paid me for this interview. I may be long, short, or hold an interest in stocks or CFDs mentioned. Past performance isn't reliable. The interviewee's views are their own, not necessarily mine. LEVRD operates as a corporate authorised representative 00131 8377 under AFSL 548573. You can find our financial services guide via the LEVRD website, link in the show notes.
Righto, bag holders and stop loss owners. I'm heading down the road of another random critical mineral, indium. Had no idea it existed, and I'm going to know a shitload more about it after this. Donald Garner, head of Iltani, ILT is the ticker. Welcome to LEVRD, mates. Mr. Indium.
Well, thank you for having me, Matt. And not really Mr. Indium yet, but yes, it's one of our key commodities.
We are
sitting on probably, we believe, the largest indium deposit in Australia. So yeah.
You're officially Mr. Indium now. I've just named it. Once I name it, mate, it's sorted. Done. Mate, so I'll bring up the chart here for the punters we're talking at a bit on the smaller end, 36 mil market cap. You can see the share price here. This is where we're sitting, and we're in North Queensland. We're heading to just south of Cairns. So I want to just go through the journey of how you got this asset and yourself a bit initially, Don, because you've been around since the 2000s. This asset, here's how I read it, and I'll get you to expand on it. You started Red River, went on that journey and then you got Thalanga, you got Hilllgrove. You left Red River. Red River went into admin, but then the Herberton project that is in Iltani now came out of Red River in the admin phase. You bought it back. So can you expand on that and piece it all together for me?
Okay. As you can tell by my accent, I'm not Australian. So I did my undergraduate and postgraduate degrees in the UK in geology. Came out to WA in the mid-1990s. Year and a half doing exploration for Dominion mining around Bannockburn, then a year and a half underground at Yilgarn Star, just outside Mavaloch. Then Russia, about a year doing exploration in northern Myanmar. Back to the UK, did another degree at Royal School of Mines, Masters. Worked for Deutsche Bank and corporate finance team for about 4 years. Worked for a small boutique called Argent Partners for a year, then came out to Australia to work in the corporate development team at Zinifex. Left Zinifex just after the merger with Oz Minerals. Worked with a guy called Chris Fraser. He had a private company called Sigiriya. Pulled together a project in the UK for him that's turned into the Woodsmith polyhalite project, multi-billion-dollar potash project, polyhalite potash project in the UK. Then set up Red River Resources. So in 2014, myself and a group of investors, we bought Red River Resources. It was a listed shell on the ASX. We bought 70% of the shell for $350,000. We then used the shell to buy the Thalanga mine from Kagara. Kagara had gone into administration. So Thalanga was a copper-lead zinc mine just outside Southern Charters Towers in north central Queensland. We brought Thalanga back into production in 2016. As you say, we bought Red River, or I bought Hilllgrove in 2019. We also picked up the Herberton project in 2019. 2021, resigned from Red River Resources. 2022, Red River had gone into administration. By that time, I set up a private company called Iltani. We bought the Herberton project, which contained Orient, from the administrators of Red River Resources for $380,000 in early 2023. June 2023, listed on the ASX, raised $5 million, and away we go.
Mate, you missed Hilllgrove by a couple of years. Like, considering what Lavoto's done with that, picking it up and
Yeah,
the miraculous rise in antimony, because Hilllgrove was the first mine I ever worked at in 2009 as a VAC student for Straits Resources.
Okay.
Yeah, so whether I cursed that place until early 2020s, but did you see that coming? That antimony rise coming? It's just circumstantial. What LEVRD's got out of it.
Oh no! Look, Mark Tomlinson and Ron Heeks, the team at Love, also have done phenomenally well, and fair play to them. I look at projects, assets. So everyone wants a tier one asset, and people look at tier one assets in terms of like scale, production, cost. But tier one assets can also be commodities. So if you look at, from a commodity perspective, Hilllgrove is a tier one asset. It's one of the best antimony projects in the Western world. Similar assets like that in Australia are, Renison Bell, tier one tin deposit, and also IGO's hard rock lithium project, Greenbushes. Yeah, because if you remember back in the day when Sons of Gwalia had Greenbushes, lithium was an afterthought there. They were mining it predominantly for the tantalum in some tin. And if you go back in a time machine and went back, 10, 15 years, you could pick up Greenbushes for next to nothing. Now Greenbushes is the core asset of the independence. And by a tier one commodity project, you're buying the best house on a street that no one wants to live in, and suddenly that street comes into favor. And if you have that project, as in Greenbushes, as in Renison Bell or Hilllgrove, when the commodity price turns in your favor or demand turns in your favor, you're going to make a lot of money for your investors. And that's what Greenbushes has done for its owners. Renison Bell has done for Metals X in Tassie, and Hilllgrove has done for LEVRD. Unfortunately, it didn't do it for Red River, but they had the asset at the right time. They took the chance, and it's paid off for them.
Did you want to buy Hilllgrove back into Iltani, or were you didn't have the opportunity?
So when Red River went into administration, it was almost like a sequential process. So the subsidiary that held Thalanga and the Herberton project went into administration first. The subsidiary that held Hilllgrove went into administration after that. So as soon as commodity went into administration, we were in there and we bought Orient, and then we listed on the ASX in June 2023. And LEVRD bought, I believe, they acquired Hilllgrove in September, October 2023. So we were in that period after listing where the ASX doesn't really want you to do anything. And if we'd have done anything, we'd have had to recomply with the listing rules. Also, to be blunt, we didn't have the financial capacity to go after Hilllgrove. Hindsight, we should have done, but we actually didn't. But perhaps the question you should be asking yourself is, why were LEVRD the only people chasing the asset? Why weren't other people chasing the asset? Because LEVRD is now what, $800 $900 million company, and there's a lot of companies out there who could have picked up Hilllgrove for their petty change out the desk in the office, so to speak. So yeah, but as I said at the start, fair play to Mark and Ron. They made their own luck. They've done phenomenally well for their shareholders, and it's great to see that. It'll be great to see the deposit coming back into operation.
I'd love to expand on that question, but we might do that another day, I think. That sounds very interesting.
If you were there with Straits, you'll remember driving down the side of the gorge to get to the...
God, it was a bloody most important job on that mine site was the grader when it was raining, because you couldn't get to work. Mate, let's get on to Herberton. I've got the map up here.
Yep.
You're 75k southwest of Cairns, and, silver indium, but a shitload of historical mining there by the sounds.
Yep.
And it was similar to Hilllgrove, really. Shafts and bloody... wood, timber everywhere from small scale back in the day. Take us through the history there, because I assume bloody indium wasn't getting extracted or even known about then.
So mining really kicked off in the Herberton region in the 1880s with the discovery of tin. So the tin and tungsten deposits that Herberton region is really known for, are found in the Hodgkinson Formation, which lie around the outside of the caldera. The caldera has got that sort of the magenta line on it, and we've got the ground inside the caldera complex. Orient small-scale mining started there in 1900, so that the old boys were after the sort of the the lead oxide high-grade silver ore that's sat at the top of the veins, with the veins outcropped. Ironically, the indium is associated with this phthalate, the zinc, and back in the 1900s, zinc was a penalty mineral. So they basically just chucked the zinc away because there's no use for zinc then. And if you go to that slide, you can one of the slides, I think we just jumped past it. If you go back one, you can see the old plant there and some of the sort of the spall heaps from the old workings. So the old boys just went along strike and just took out the oxide supergene ore from where the high grade veins outcropped on surface. Yeah. And it all came to an end in sort of like 1920, 1925, and no one. There were some people a company called Great Northern drove some holes there in the 70s, but no one had really been back there.
Yeah. Okay. So looking at before we get into what indium is, and where it's at in the market, or looking at your mineral resource estimate here. So for Orient, so we've got 34 million tonne at 31 grams silver and 17 grams per tonne indium. So are you a silver developer, an indium developer? Are they both going together? How would you describe yourself? It's got a bit of lead and zinc too.
So if and when Orient goes into production, it will produce a lead concentrate and a zinc concentrate. So the silver will be in the lead and the indium will be in the zinc. So are we silver? Yes, we're silver. Are we indium? Yes, we're indium. Are we zinc? Yes, we're zinc, and lead as well. So as you know, Australia's largest silver mine is Cannington, owned by South32 in the Cloncurry Inlar. Cannington has never produced a bar of silver in its life. It produces a lead con and a zinc con, with the majority of the silver in the lead con. So we'll be similar to Cannington. I mean, at the end of the day, it's all about creating value for our shareholders and getting the share price to go up. So, that's our focus. And we're just fortunate that, silver is in the spotlight at the moment and indium is coming into the spotlight as well. But from an economic perspective, if we stack the metals in terms of value, I'd say at the moment, 50, 60, maybe 50, 60% silver, 20% zinc, 10% indium, 10% lead. In terms of the economic value.
Yeah,
But from a strategic perspective, it really is indium that's the key, because this Orient is Australia's largest indium deposit, and indium is as you know, is on the list of critical minerals because of its high tech uses, and that's really coming into focus now as well.
And what are those uses?
Well, so current global refined production indium is about 1,100 tons a year. 70% of that comes out of China. So 70% of indium is used in indium tin oxide that sits behind flat screen displays. So it's basically a layer on your screen that's optically transparent, but it's electrically
one of them. It's in there.
Yeah, like one of those. So when your finger touches the screen, that's how it registers where your finger touches the screen.
God, which controls everyone's bloody life these days, so we can assume that's much needed.
It does indeed. And the main, one of the growing uses of indium is in indium semiconductors, which is indium phosphide. So basically diodes and LEDs. All these data centers, 5G, 6G, etc., they're all moving from copper wiring to fiber optics, photonics. So they need indium phosphide to produce the light for the fiber optics. So that's a really increasing area as well. Hence, it's only with the Chinese dominance and its use in touchscreens and AI data centers, etc. It's on everyone's critical minerals list.
Yeah. Okay. So talk about the supply demand side, the pricing, and how is it transparent or very opaque, and is there a potential supply crunch coming with it, or is it another one of those ones?
So indium is only produced as a byproduct. So 99% of the world's production of indium comes from the refining of zinc concentrates.
Yep.
not all zinc smelters have an indium recovery circuit on them. Some do, some don't. So, for example, in Australia, there's 2 zinc smelters. Sun Metals in Townsville and Traff's zinc smelter in Hobart in Tassie. They don't have indium recovery circuits on. KZ smelter in Onsan, Korea does. A number of the Japanese smelters do, and a majority of the Chinese smelters do. So, yeah, is there a supply crunch coming? There's limited refining capacity because there's only limited smelters with the capability to recover indium, and not all zinc concentrates have indium levels high enough to be economically viable to recover. So potentially there is a supply crunch coming. Pricing perspective, it's like a lot of these other critical minerals. It's not like a LME traded, screen traded commodity. It's not like gold or silver where you can easily find the spot price. There are quotes around, but yeah, the quotes can give you a wide range. For example, if you go online now, you can find prices quoted from between 650 US a kilo to up to 900 US a kilo. So, it is what it is.
Is that so? Has that range of prices that gone up yet or not, or it hasn't moved, or it's more just a thesis at the moment?
Since China brought in the export restrictions in 25, it's increased by about 30 to 40%.
Okay, so not like a tungsten or antimony rise that we've seen?
No, not to that extent. I think with antimony and tungsten, they're more at the forefront of people's minds because of their direct use in weaponry and in the wars that conflicts that are unfortunately happening around the world. While indium's are more sort of like subtle in the background mineral.
Yeah, well, there's a shitload of weapons they need to replace. From the last couple of months. Yeah. So that first zinc refinery that you mentioned, one in Hobart, where's the other one in Australia?
Townsville.
Okay, and that's got an indium recovery circuit in it.
No, it hasn't.
It hasn't. But
so the smelter in Townsville is owned by Korea Zinc. It doesn't have an indium recovery circuit on it.
Yeah.
The smelter in Korea, Onsan, is also owned by KZ, and that does have an indium recovery circuit on it.
Okay, rightio. Gotcha. So is there a pathway to potentially putting one in there eventually?
Oh, I mean, it'd have to have a feed and it'd be up to KZ's, but yeah, potentially, yeah.
Yeah, well, I assume that your door would be the first they're knocking at.
that would make sense, yeah.
That would make sense.
I mean, and the Queensland government is very supportive of our project, and they want to see, as a lot of the Australian government does, a lot of these concentrates further refined, value added in Australia. So it would be a logical thing to do. Yeah.
So when you first got this project back out of the Red River admin, was the indium becoming a theme then, or like were you?
Well, indium has been, on a lot of people, some people's minds since the early 1990s. So as flat screens, touch screens uses exploded worldwide, the indium price has also gone up. So if you go back to about 1990, indium production was about 150 ton a year. Now it's 1,000 ton a year. And in the early 2000s, indium got up to like 1,000 US a kilo with the demand from the electronic sector.
Yeah, right. So I want to talk about the mining and the project development, and then we'll talk about how that share price is, as you said, focus, get the share price up. You're all aligned. You've got shares. This is what people want to know. So from a mining perspective, take me through the mineralisation. Is it just going to be like a big bloody open pit? I'll bring up the look of the lay of the land, but is it just a big uniform project that's just going to be a bulk mining opportunity?
So if you imagine it, we've got high-grade veins, which are basically massive sulfide mineralization, surrounded by extensive low-grade alteration zone stockworks. So we're talking about open pit Orient West, open pit Orient East, and as we drill and join them up, it should join up as one. So on that map there, open pit Orient West, open pit Orient East, and as we explore in between Orient West and Orient East, the mineralization should join up. So potentially the pits should join up. So you've got 2 open pits feeding a processing plant. So we're just going through the metallurgy as we speak with Tomra and Core Resources. So theoretically, the processing circuit would be crush, ore sort, mill, then low intensity magnetic separation to remove the pyrrhotite from the feed. Then we would float a lead con and a zinc con, and the lead con and zinc con would go off to Townsville for export.
Yeah, okay. And is this going to have, like, based on your location, who are your neighbours? Like, is there existing plants that can be converted in the area, or is this going to have to be a standalone project?
This would be a standalone project. There's a lot of other people exploring in the area. Our closest neighbour is probably is a company called Cobra Resources. Yep. KOB, they're listed on the SX. They're exploring tin and tungsten on ground that's contiguous with our tenement holdings. But yeah, Orient would be a standalone project. So if you can imagine, we'd build a processing facility at Orient. It would be process the ore from Orient. Then we'd look out within the district for other satellite opportunities. We've got a couple of those ourselves, Isabel Extended, and we've got some targets we drill as well. So if we can get the project up on the back of Orient, anything else we've got in the district would be like cream on top of it.
Yeah, and what, like, I know this would be a forward-looking statement, but what sort of scale is something like this when you're mining, like a large indium, when you got revenue streams coming from indium and silver? How are we talking? 1 million tonne? We're talking 5 million tonne?
We're currently starting the permitting process at the moment. So we're doing the early stage work, the wet season, dry season, flora and fauna survey. We've got a water bore rig on site drilling holes for the hydrological test work. I think ballpark, we're looking at least a 3 million tonne per annum mining operation.
Yeah.
But where we're trying to do it smarter is that if you imagine if you look at the grades back in the resource, we're mining 3 million tonne that's 1-3% metal. So the majority of the stuff the majority of material going through the mill will be waste. So if we can work with TOMRA to put an ore sorting circuit after the crushing and before the milling, we can pull out a significant portion of that waste. By pulling out the waste, we increase the head grade that goes through the plant. The plant will be a smaller size. The TSF at the end will be a smaller size. And ultimately, if you're mining 1 to 2 million tonnes per annum, it's going to cost you $20-30 a tonne to process that. So you don't want to be paying $20-30 a tonne to process waste because it's useless. So it's a waste of money. So you want to get as much of the waste out of the plant as possible. Hence the ore sorting stage.
Yeah. So just got a picture of your core up here from Orient. What's the key characteristic of it that will make it ore sortable? I know of ore sorting with lithium, for instance, because you got a white pegmatite and a black rock. How's this ore sortable?
So what we're after is sulfides. The ore is pyrrhotite, galena sphalerite, pyrrhotite benign sulfide. Sulfides are opaque to X-rays, so you can sort by X-rays. So you can sort the opaques go in the keep, which are the sulfides. The non-opaques go in the waste, which is disposed.
Yep.
Then after the milling circuit, we would pull the pyrrhotite out with a low intensity magnetic separation before we float the lead and the zinc.
Yeah, interesting.
That's the plan.
Yeah,
we'll see how the test work goes.
That sounds bloody easy at the moment, mate. Don't make it sound too hard until it's actually happening. So, what's when you're talking about permitting? I know things are probably a bit different in Queensland than like WA. Like, how does it sit on with the historical workings? Is it on a so-called mining license? And if so,
it's exploration and you've got ELs, they're called EPMs in Queensland.
Yep.
So it's on an exploration license. So we have to convert the exploration. We have to apply for a mining lease over the areas we're going to impact for mining.
Yeah.
And we're in the process of working out what those areas would be, the footprint of the site. Once we understand that, then we can speak to the two landowners to deal with. So we speak to the two landowners. We speak to the one native title group about compensation agreements, and we lodge the application with the Queensland government.
Yeah. Okay, and what's permitting like in Queensland for this sort of stuff now? I see, like, because you've been given, you had investment from the QIC,
which is essentially the Queensland government.
Yeah, so that's handy. So it's in the incentive.
From a permitting perspective, we're dealing with the sort of the technical side, the sort of the environmental impact side, and also the social side. I think one of the most important things for us is the social side. Do we have the support of the local communities? And to date, when we've been out talking to local communities, there's a real groundswell of opinion that they had mining in the past. So mines operated in this area as late as 15 years ago. So people want to see mining come back, but they want to see mining come back in a way that benefits the local community. And the only way you'll do that is the big benefit to the local community is jobs. So because we are 15k from Herberton, 40k from Atherton, it would be a drive out site. So the jobs would be in the local community, and that's what the people want to see. So we've got to work with the local communities to maintain their support for the projects. We just had the Tablelands Regional Council, which is one of the Shire councils on site, 6 councils and the mayor 2 weeks ago, and they're supportive of what we're doing. So work with the local communities, make sure we do the environmental clearance for the environmental impact statement and get the technical side right. So 3 to 5 years, hopefully.
Yeah, and that's just for you got silver, indium as a starting point, but there's a lot of other commodities to explore, and as you said, you're looking for cream on top. Is the focus going to remain on developing Orient, or is like greenfields exploration sort of what you're chasing as well if you find some copper, for instance?
We're in business to make money for our shareholders. So the whole objective of listing Iltani was to create a platform within the ASX to go out and acquire projects and opportunities where we can see value for our shareholders. Just before we listed Iltani in June 2023, we were actually in the Woodlawn data room. So we were going through Woodlawn because we saw an opportunity in Woodlawn, and we were the only at that point in time. We were the only company in the data room. Yep. Then Bill Beeman came along and
just ruined it for everyone.
No, he did. He came along, and the rest is history, because we were a small private unlisted company, and Bill was Bill. So Bill bought the Woodlawn project, and Woodlawn went into develop, and now develops. He's done a phenomenal job with that project. But we're in business to create value for our shareholders. So we picked up the Orient project from the Red River Administration's 380 grand, and to date, since listing, our focus has really been on Orient, but we are always looking for other opportunities to bring into the company.
Yeah, and look, because I saw it because you've got within your holdings, you've got some pretty high grade copper intersections. Was that Union Jack? Is it?
No, that the high grade copper is Isabel extended. It was
over here. Yeah,
7 meters at 3.3% copper drilled there in the 1980s and never followed up. Plus you've got Isabel, which is a small, really, really high grade, massive sulfide pipe shoot with some, there's some phenomenal grades in there. But, this year we are going to drill those targets. So we're going to drill Bunmu epithermal, which is a gold system, Union Jack, which is a small high grade historic base metal mine with some, when we overflow it with an aerial VTEM server, there's some nice VTEM plates there. Isabel extended. So, but those really are still part of the Orient project. And going forward, we want to expand outside of Northern Queensland, because as you know, we had, with the wet season, we've got this period where we're non-active, and this year we weren't active from basically December to the end of March, which constrains our news flow, which is not good for our share price and not good for our investors. So we're looking for opportunities, currently looking for opportunities within Australia, within the similar commodity suite, but outside of far North Queensland.
Yeah, and is that just part and parcel of working in North Queensland, especially in exploration? Like you nearly got to write those 3 months off every year, or sometimes you get better ones than others?
Pretty much. I mean, the challenge is, as you know, we demobilise from site in December, and as soon as you demob the rigs, they're difficult to get back. What you don't want to happen is you don't want the rigs to come back, then suddenly a cyclone to come through, because suddenly you got the rigs stuck on site. You've got your contract not doing anything, so you're paying standby to the drilling company. You got your contractors that you brought on to support the drilling program hanging around doing nothing, so the money's just going out the door without you actually getting any returns for the money. So we wait till we're confident the cyclone season, the wet season is finished, but it seems to be extending, getting further deeper into the year each year we've been there. So this year March was pretty wet up there. There wasn't any cyclones, it's just like monsoonal rain. So it's just something we have to deal with.
Yeah.
It wouldn't impact a mining operation, but it does impact our exploration project.
Yeah, well, it impacts a few mining ones too when they get flooded underground. Like Ernest Henry had dramas, bloody.
Well, where we are at 800-900 meters altitude, so the rain that falls on us flows into the Gulf of Carpentaria. So the little streams, the tiny little streams up at Orient are actually the headwaters of the massive rivers flowing into the Gulf of Carpentaria 400 or 500 kilometers away. So there's not so much challenges with flooding on site. It's just from an exploration phase. When the rains hit, the streams on site rise, so you can't drive forward drives through the streams because it's a risk. 3-4 days later, the streams have come down, so you can drive through the streams. But the actual soil just gets wet, and if you're driving around site on the dirt roads, you just get bogged and you cut them up. And if you try to bring heavy machinery on site before it's dried out, it would just be a nightmare. So yeah, we just don't bother.
Yeah, understood.
I mean, you know, it's like when you get shit bogged out in the bush. It's no fun for anyone,
Might be fun for the first time, but then every day it doesn't good.
And you just annoy the landowners because they don't want the tracks on their stations being cut to pieces by you moving heavy equipment through too early.
Yeah. They're got to be your best friends.
So.
Looking at the year ahead, the half a year ahead, because you got $8 million in the bank, and it says here you're funded for your 2026 drilling program. How much more do you need? Like with the existing Orient resource and the Silver-Indium being sort of the headline of it, how much more do you need to know there via drilling versus poking holes in greenfield areas to try and expand the portfolio?
So this year we're planning to do initially 115 holes at Orient. So a lot of that will be infill drilling to increase the confidence of the resource, then work along the strike extensions to add to the resource. Plus we've got the exploration holes we're going to drill in between, the link zone, Orient North, Vein 1. So the holes we've done are the blue holes. The holes we're planning to drill this year are the green holes. So we're already about 15 holes in. We've got the 2 rigs that are predominantly at Orient West at the moment. The areas, the link zone, Vein 1, Orient West extension, Orient North, there's not many green holes there because these are the holes we've designed to sort of like come back and follow up what we did last year. If those holes are good, we'll then have more holes, then have more holes, then have more holes. So ultimately all those red boxes will be full of drill holes. So yeah, it's going to be a busy year for us at Orient. We're doing we've got the 2 rigs running at the moment. We're doing 1 to 2 holes a day. The holes, we send the whole hole to assay. So in the ore zones where the visible mineralization is, we're sending 1 meter assays. Outside the ore zones, we're doing 4 meter comps. So 4 meters into one sample. We send every 5 holes. It's off to the assay lab, which is Intertech in Townsville. So we're sending samples to the assay lab every 2 or 3 days. Current time around for the assay lab is 3 to 4 weeks. So we should start to see assays at the start of mid to end June. Historically, we've put out, when we've been drilling, we've put out a release every 5-6 holes. So, 115 holes, we believe that all of those are going to hit mineralization. So, that's a lot of assets, that's a lot of ASX releases. So we're going to have to find a different way to do our ASX releases.
So
Plus,
save them up till December through February while you're not drilling. That'd be the go.
Yeah, there's something called continuous disclosure obligations you may have heard of. Some companies on the market may not follow them, but we try to follow them. So we'll batch the assay results out and release them as they come in. Then we've got the 25 holes we're doing on the regional targets as well, which will be equally as exciting. Probably more exciting to see what's out there.
Yeah. Okay, and I'll say because if you look at the journey of what's ahead, it sounds like you've started the concept mining studies for Orient, and eventually come out with a study with a capex number attached to it, but then you've got the regional targets as well, which is where a new story begins. And I guess once that your study comes out, when do you think a study will be out?
Look, we'll have a better idea once we finish the drilling this year in July, August.
Next year job.
No. So we got the initial met test work underway. The metallurgical test work is key, because if you can't get good recoveries to concentrates that you can sell, then the project has got challenges. Hopefully end of this year, but don't hold me to it. But from a Iltani perspective, our exploration manager Eric Norum, Orient is his project now, so he's driving Orient forward. He's driving the Herberton project forward. Now my onus on me is to sort of try and find other opportunities to bring in to the company. So looking for another Hilllgrove, that sort of thing that we can pick up for an attractive price that will create value for our shareholders.
Yeah, interesting. So if you're focusing on Orient, who is maybe a strategic partner or someone that may be interested in this? To say that you're going to go alone from here is a big feat. It doesn't always happen. It can be done. But who would possibly be interested in getting the indium from you?
Oh, look, the silver, indium, lead, zinc, but if you want to talk about the indium, so if you imagine the world is splitting into two blocks. So you've got the US aligned block and the non-US aligned block, with the non-US aligned block being Russia, China, Iran, North Korea. So the US is really interested in ensuring that its critical mineral supply comes from the US aligned block. So we've got the QIC as our largest investor, and through the QIC we've got excellent contacts into the Queensland government, and the Queensland government has been in the US recently talking with their Office of Critical Minerals about investing into Queensland. Yeah. So there's potential for investment to come to us through that route. There's also the potential to engage, concentrate off-takers, KZ, the Japanese traders, etc., to invest in the project to take control of the offtake. Because the QIC, they are interested in supporting companies to build projects in Queensland. So by building projects in Queensland, they're creating employment in Queensland. And if the projects go into production, they pay royalties to the Queensland government, so it's benefit to the state. But our offtake is still available. So there's parties that will come in for the offtake at a point in time. And also, as you well know from your previous experiences, there's a lot of larger companies out there looking to acquire projects. If you're in operations, if you're an operational mining company, you're constantly mining your reserve base. So you replace your reserves through acquisition and or exploration. And a lot of companies, their preference is to use acquisition as a method to replace the reserves, because it's more you can control it better than you control exploration. You know, you can spend hundreds of millions of dollars on exploration each year for 10 years and find nothing, or else you can just say, right, we're going to go out and buy something, we'll buy it, bolt it on, and away we go. So you've got, you know, companies always looking for opportunities. And ultimately, if we can deliver a highly attractive project that's viable, you know, we may or may not be acquired, but we will do what's ever in the best interest of our shareholders.
Yeah, because you got 34 million ounces of silver in the resource. Is that truckable anywhere in North Queensland to possibly be processed at another plant? So it definitely has to be standalone.
No.
Yeah.
The closest plant to us was a plant at Mount Garnet, which is about 35 km to the south. Mount Garnet was owned by a private entity that went into administration in 22, 23. We went down to look at the plant, and the plant wasn't in the world's best condition. And ultimately, that site was disclaimed. So the administrators who had control of the site couldn't sell it, so they disclaimed the site. So basically, it's not the sort of like returned it. They brushed their hands, returned it to the Queensland government. Now that site is held by the Queensland government, and we've been in contact with Andrew Beaton, who's running that site for the Department of Resources. And basically, it's the site has moved into a rehabilitation process. So they're capping the TSF, and ultimately they're going to remove the plant from the site. So we did go down to look at it, but it's not for us. We can't use it.
Yeah, gotcha.
And ultimately with Orient, you know, it's bulk mining operation, and you can only move bulk tons so far by road. So, you know, we're planning to have a processing plant on site.
Yeah, right. Okay. So I guess what I've taken from this, you can correct me if I'm wrong, like with the permitting and the funding and everything that would be required to get Orient into production is probably, it sounds like your focus is a lot also on to increase the share price is getting another asset into the portfolio.
Yeah. There's a lot of value in Orient, and we're working hard to try and express that value, get that value better expressed in our share price. I mean, to be blunt, the challenge for us, we were at the Sydney RRU conference last week, 2 weeks ago, and there was 100 companies plus. You've been to, you've probably been to the RRU conference in Fremantle.
Yeah, yeah.
And there's hundreds of companies, and it's how do you, to make your share price go up, you have to have more people want to buy your shares and sell your shares, and it's like how do you cut through when there's so many companies out there? So we're going to redouble our efforts. For example, is this podcast we're doing with you, we're going to, you know, start to highlight the indium part of our story, because we believe Australia's largest indium deposit. So we think I think it's a nice aspect for the shareholders. So, you know, make more of what we have with the drilling, you know, trying, you know, we believe we should be more highly, everyone believes we should be more highly valued, but we believe we should be more highly valued. But that's up to us to get our message across there, get out there, market the project better, get the share price up. And as we're doing that, you know, look for other opportunities to bring into the company. You know, if we're not out there looking for other opportunities, other people are. So, you know, not everything we look at we will do. You know, based on my experience, I think, you know, if you look at, say, 10 projects, you might get one over the line from a M&A perspective. Because there's lots of things that can go wrong. So, you know, Eric and his team focus on Orient, focus on driving it forward. We've got a consultant in on the permitting side to assist us with the permitting, so that's underway as well. And I'm supporting Eric where I can, and also looking for other opportunities to bring into the company.
Yeah, because you look at, what are you, 38 million market cap, that's a say, and you've got a resource, a silver-indium resource. You look at a lot of gold shell companies with the right shareholders are higher than that. So it's all very depending on what asset and what people you get in. Things can change very quickly in this game.
And also, we've only got 78 million shares in issue, and a lot of these companies who've got similar market caps to us have got 1 to 2 billion shares in issue. So we've kept the register very tight. We've tried to minimise dilution for our investors going forward. So it's we know what we've got to do, and we're getting on with it.
Yeah, interesting, mate. That's been fascinating, and can't thank you enough for coming on. And good to head over to North Queensland and talk about something I've just never even heard of. And there you go, touchscreen commodities. Love it.
And thank you for your time.
Good on you, Don. Best of luck, mate. Good luck finding that project, mate.
Yeah, I'm looking.
And as always, punters, thanks to the Dosh sponsor, the Toad, the Cane Toad. Link in the show notes to the 3D drill hole visualising software that will change your life. Thank you very much.